This is the book, Power Incorporated, the epic rivalry between big business and government and the reckoning that lies ahead. Our speaker is hugely accomplished. His book, The Superclass, was read widely and praised highly. He's done so many impressive things in his life. And when I received a call months and months and months ago from his publisher asking if we had an interest, of course we did. And he's here, and I'm as anxious as you are to hear him. Welcome, please, David Rothkopf.
Good morning. All of you guys are all casual. I'm going to get casual, okay? I'm from Washington, you know, and we wear suits all the time. When it's 110 degrees out, the pavement's sort of melting, we're in suits. Women are in pantyhose. Some of the men are in suits and pantyhose, but that's another story. I'm pleased to be here. I'm in the midst of one of these marathons that you sometimes go on. It's a combination book tour and business tour, and I'm in the middle of going to 14 cities on 3 continents in 16 days. And this week I've been in Nairobi, Kenya, London, Oxford, Washington, Chicago, not Denver, and I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I've covered a lot of ground, and most of it has been big kind of audiences of business people in suits, looking very grim. And it's good to be in a room full of people who look happy, and who, some of whom are actually too young to remember some of the references George just made, and who therefore may have a future. I also am pleased to be in a place where they have such distinguished speakers, and I'm glad to know that you show up even when you don't. My book covers a lot of ground. It covers the history of the rivalry between business and government for 1,000 years. So I'm not going to talk about all that, which I see brings relief to some of you. And those of you who are not relieved should be. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slice of it. And I'm just going to take a very, very narrow slice of it that's relevant to all of you, young and old, as you sort of look at the political scene in the United States right now, or as you think about going out, because you talk about civic engagement. And we are living in a troubled time in the United States of America. And one of the reasons that this book has had a gratifyingly great reception is that the national debate right now is on some really, really important issues about whether our system works. You know, you had Occupy Wall Street, you had Occupy all over. Actually, the Occupy movement went to 900 different cities around the world. And you also had the Tea Party movement. And the Tea Party movement and the Occupy movement, despite what you might think internally, are the same movement. It's a movement of alienation, politics of alienation. Why? Because something's broken in America. In the course of the past 10 years, you had the first 10 years in American history in which we actually lost net jobs in this country. It's the first 10-year period in American history where median incomes went down. It's the first 10-year period in American history in which social mobility, the American dream, the idea that you could be born here but you could go to the top, social mobility went down in this country. That's troubling. And if you're a high school student here, even though you're very fortunate to be in a remarkable facility and you've got every advantage that you've got in life, you've got to be concerned about it for one reason or another. You might be concerned about it because it affects you. But if you're not, because you are on the inside track, you're one of these students that he was calling out who's already achieving great things, and you're at a great school, and you're going to go to a great college, and you're probably going to have a great job, the rest of the country you're in is not doing so well. Half of the minority students who go to school in inner cities in the United States drop out. They will never compete. They will never have a good job. They will never break out of where they are. And meanwhile, on the other side of the world, they have a different system of education. They have a different set of motivations. They don't go to school like we do for 9 months a year, you know, because we're on the 19th century agrarian calendar, and of course, when school breaks in the summer, I'm sure you all go home and help your parents harvest. But that's the school calendar we're on. They don't go to school from 9 to 3. They go to school from 7 or 8 until 5 or 6. And they have different attitude. My dad, who is a professor at Columbia and was a scientist at Bell Labs, studied how people learn. And he said, you know, when you go to Japan and you ask people in Japan, how do you get successful at math? The answer is hard work. And if you go to somebody in the United States and you say, how are you successful at math? They say, talent. That's a problem. Talent's not what gets people places. Hard work is what gets people places. Talent's something good to have. But hard work is the edge. You know, I wrote this book, Superclass, you talked about the 6,000 richest, most powerful people in the world. And I'll tell you, the one thing that made everybody in that top tier, the billionaires, set apart from everybody else was not brilliance. It was that they worked harder than everybody else. And if you ask them, you ask people around and say, those people have more energy than anybody I ever saw. They don't have more energy. They just worked harder than everybody else. But you got to work hard in a system that rewards work. And something somehow has gotten broken in the American system. Something that has always meant if productivity went up, GDP went up, job creation went up, salaries went up. That doesn't happen anymore in the United States. And now, doesn't mean it can't happen in the future. It means it's broken right now. And the question is, how do you fix it? Do we have a system that's going to be able to fix it? And the problem is that right now the U.S. system is stuck. Turn on the TV. No, not to the channel you normally turn on the TV. Turn on the TV to CNN. Or, if you have the stomach for it, MSNBC or Fox, which are sort of food fight channels. Because when we have political debate in the United States, we're having a food fight. Nobody's talking seriously about things. It's all a reality show. It's cage wrestling. It's, you know, let's go after each other. Let's call each other names. You know, one side says, the problem with everything is big government. Another side says, the problem with everything is Wall Street running the show. That's not true. There's problems in government. There's problems in Wall Street. Somewhere in the middle lies the answer. But we don't get to the middle because compromise, solving problems, having a constructive discussion, it's bad TV. People are accused in both parties, Mitt Romney in the Republican Party, Barack Obama in the Democratic Party, are accused of being weak because they seek compromise, even though the fundamental nature of democracy is to find the deal that works for the majority of people. How did that happen? How did we get there? We got there in part because the American political system started drifting away from its moorings. And increasingly, over the course of the past 220 years, has become a system about money. Barack Obama raised $750 million to run for president, more money than anybody ever had raised. Raised more money from Wall Street than any president had ever raised. Then he bailed out Wall Street. Then he let Wall Street off the hook. Then he didn't seek Wall Street reform in any serious way. Do you think that has something to do with the fact that he raised more money from Wall Street than anybody ever did before? Oh, no, he's not alone. There are plenty of examples from the other party of the same thing, because both parties do this same thing. We have super PACs now, where because of a decision by the Supreme Court of the United States, which for those of you who are in high school here and studying this, you got to study this, because this is pivotal. You know, I don't know if some of you have taken an American history course, and in it you talk about a case around the time of the Civil War called the Dred Scott case, which was this terrible, you know, misguided decision on the part of the Supreme Court. A senator last week said that the worst Supreme Court decision since the Dred Scott decision was a decision called Citizens United, which made an absolutely perverse conclusion that somehow money was speech. In other words, the freedom of speech extends to people who spend money and contribute it in political campaigns. Why is that a perverse decision? Because what it means is, for the first time in American history, some people have more speech than others. They have more of a freedom. They have a bigger slice of the freedom. Because if you got more money, you can spend it. And there are no limits here. You know, the United States is the only country in the world in which we have a political system that's so dependent on money. Almost every other country has campaigns of limited duration. Most of them have federally, publicly financed campaigns. So that means candidates aren't raising money all the time. That's not, sort of what they do. Go to Canada. It's 90 days, federally financed. They talk about the issues, people vote, they move on, less corrupt. Once they're elected, they're still raising money the whole time. If you're a member of Congress, all you can do is raise money, because you have to run every 2 years. Then you've got lobbying, and lobbyists who sit on big piles of money come into your office and say, hey, there's a bill that matters to me. And the congressmen and senators, they think, this guy's going to write me a check someday. And it corrupts the system.